Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome to another Cutter Degrassism and another video in the Time Stand Still mini series for 2025. As 4 videos will be released on October the 12th, which is the Canadian anniversary of Time Stand Still Part 2. Remember, Time Stand Still Part 1 was 1 week, and then the next week was Part 2. In the US, it was in December, but in Canada, it's October because I am from Canada, so logically, we do that. So the first of our 4 episode mini block was to talk about Joey and Caitlin's subplot. Was it needed within the Time Stand Still universe, and how good was it really? I think it was good. So anyway, it's time to tackle a massive thought and about a certain character of Degrassi and the whole shooting thing. Now I've been taught. Now you may be thinking, okay, he's talking about Rick because should we be sympathetic to Rick? If Rick had not retaliated, you definitely have to be sympathetic towards Rick. However, Rick took a gun to the school. He tried to get revenge. He got. I can't give him sympathy, and you shouldn't either. What about a video about Jimmy and his struggles post Time to Stand Still? Well, I could easily have done that one. I could easily do one about Spinner and did the school properly ostracize him after what he told Jimmy? And I'd be like, yeah, Spinner had it coming. But the good news is that Spinner took it as a learning lesson and he became better and all that. What about Hazel? Yeah, right. What did Hazel have to do with this situation? Or Ellie? Or even Liberty and JT? Well, you know, the events of time stand still, of course. So, if you look at a lot of my Degrassiisms and no one person is at the forefront, it would be Emma. Although it is tempting to do an Emma video to do with Degrassiism and to do with Time Stand Still, we all are in agreement, we should all be in agreement that Emma's problems post Time Stand Still were basically her being traumatized by Rick almost killing her with the gun. And that, Emma probably changed her outlook on things, saying that if I take up a cause, someone could take it and I could lose my life. She really wanted Sean. We all know that. You could bullshit your way through everything, but, you know, she wanted Sean. But no, it's not about them. It's about the one person who I've been talking about for many, many Degrassiisms and all that. And the main person for this Degrassiism is the man at the top adult. You know how everyone says that the adults failed Rick and may have failed the students? Well, this guy is number 1 on everybody's list. Everybody's list. Like who, as an adult, would make things worse than than the principal? Well, maybe Rick's parents, but the fact of the matter is that we all know that Raditchs screwed everything up. I have done videos, and of course, the playlist will be in the bottom, in the bottom part and all that. If you want to learn more about the Degrassiisms and what Raditch and all that, his blunders and all that. But we're focusing on Raditch in the aftermath. Like, we're not focusing on Raditch's stupidity in season 4, letting Rick back at the school, saying that his hands were tied when people think that's bullcrap. We're not looking at the fact that he mishandled Rick when Rick came and all that to try to get Jimmy out the wacky brain team. Rick was not straightforward with what he wanted and all that, and Raditch is a concrete thinker. If Rick had evidence about Jimmy, then I think Raditch would have taken him seriously. Of course, Raditch saw the paint and feathers and wanted answers and all that. But this is a massive thing to do with the aftermath. Now, I did a post on Reddit, which was 9 days ago. And of course, today is, well, I'm taping this October 7th and we'll be releasing this October 12th. So here we go. Thoughts about Raditch's role in season 4, post shooting only. Here's what I did. And of course, it was kind of an essay. I know everyone is sour about Raditch's role in the storyline by refusing to listen to his students about letting Rick back at school and how he mishandled Rick in Time Stand Still Part 1. But what about his third big faux pas or strike in the same storyline? The aftermath. Here's what I think. Raj could have easily been turfed for his mishandling of Rick, and the school for that matter, right away. But in my mind, the school board may have given Raj one chance to redeem himself and save his and Degrassi's reputation. But in my mind, he used his chance to redeem his self worth and not fix Degrassi. I know he did the counselors and that stuff on the Monday after, which was going to happen as is. But what did he do to fix Degrassi in the aftermath? Did he try to find the culprits for the pain and feathers? Did he try to help the students deal with this tragedy? Did he take responsibility for what he did wrong? No, no, 1,000 times no. We didn't get to see how much Degrassi supposedly healed until Voices Carry. I mean, it will always be this. The main plots will always be talked about in Voices Carry because that's the one in which Craig um, has his bipolar diagnosis. Whereas in the subplot, we hear about Raj canceling Degrassi's version of Dracula because it's too gory. But JT and Liberty promised that they did not use his full source material and needed it to help the school heal. What's Raj's response? A sunny musical about Degrassi. The perfect red flag to the theory that Raj was only in it to redeem Degrassi's rep and not the school and not help the school. I feel that with the negative attention towards Degrassi and possible repercussions towards the school and himself, he was into damage control mode and not helping principal mode. That explains Alex's line in part 2 of Voices Carry, which says, I'm all about rebellion, but not enough to get me expelled, followed by the drama club walking on JT and Liberty about the Raditchs song. This line of dialogue details that, in a sense, they're worried about what Raditch would do to them when negative thoughts are expressed. It's totally evident when Snake talks to Raditch twice in a calm role, but Raditch strikes out with retorts such as, This is not daycare and making friends is not part of the curriculum, or, I have 700 students. How was I supposed to know that one student would overreact to some spilled paint? Of course, we all know Raditch hates the Raditch song throws JT and Liberty into tension, which actually gets them closer together, which was kind of cute. But then the next episode, Bark of the Moon, the third plot, gone. I think that was the last straw. That was the last straw in Voices Scary. And the school board needed to dump him off, but of course, maybe they were still investigating him, and this was proof he was not meant to be trusted. Also, to note on that investigation, maybe Snake did have a hand in Raditch's demise. I mean, Snake did admit his faults, and that's great. As with maybe Alex, Emma, Marco, the drama club, few staff members, maybe they did have a hand in Raditch's demise. When you piss off your only ally like Raditch did to Snake, you're in for it. In my head canon, I feel like Raditch probably said that Snake should be principal, but Snake balked, saying he could not take it in the right circumstance, and he didn't want to be like his mentor. Well, those are my thoughts. Right? What about the Reddit community? Well, prestigious Fee wrote an essay of his or her own. I don't know. I think it's a girl. I'm just making a guess. But anyway, so before I get to prestigious fees uh, essay, if you will, I'm going to talk about the whole Raditch stuff past the shooting. Okay, so Raditch before the shooting, like in the episode Mercy Street, allows Rick to come back seemingly with no repercussions and all that, and everyone in the school is pissed off. Um, Alex and Marco, being named student council vice president and president respectively, go to Raditch in a freaking deleted scene that CTV/Nickelodeon should have put on. Why the hell was that a deleted scene? It was stupid. And then they try to tell Raditch that Rick should not come back to school. And all Raditch does is that Terry's in a private school. I can't talk about her affairs. Really. And basically, Alex tries to get on Raditch's side, saying that he's a danger to women. This isn't about GPA. And Raditch says, to the best of my knowledge, he doesn't have a criminal charge, and anyone who doesn't have a criminal charge is free to study my school. Simple as that. I mean, at least he gives them that. But there's no criminal charge. And then of course everyone would be like, why the hell was there no criminal charge? Why did Terry's dad not press charges? Why did Terry not press charges? Why didn't Spinner and Paige do that? Rick probably would have got himself off easily with a better lawyer. But anyway, Raj gets chastised. He chastises Emma for taking up the cause to try to ruin Rick. Says, This is not a stupid crusade. Are you freaking nuts? domestic violence is a crusade we're working for, Raditch. You're just pissing them off, and you know from the whole genetically modified foods fight that Emma is not going to back down from you. You bastard. That's just my thought. Anyhow, Raditch sees his school bully Rick, and like, what happens? Like, little punishments having it. And then Rick goes to Raditch trying to get Jimmy off the Wacky Brain team, but Raditch doesn't really listen well to Rick's things. And Rick, of course, as I said, was not straightforward. He didn't say bully, he didn't provide proof, and Raditch is a freaking concrete thinker. Raditch shows him off saying, come back when something serious happens. Of course, Raditch believes Rick now that the paint and feathers thing was there for him to see. He wants answers and says, I will severely punish you. And then, of course, the thing happens. That stupid next deleted scene. The other deleted scene that should have been in about the whole thing that, Spinner sees Rick with his painted feathers on, collects. Raditch hears it, wants Spinner to come for a 3:30 talk. And then he basically goes to Rick and tells Rick about the fact that shouldn't you have better clothes on? And it's just awful how, he mistreated Rick. And then, of course, Snake comes through and tells Raditch, what's your plan for helping Rick out? He can't do any more harm than is if he's not here than he isn't here. Basically, Snake's upset that he's sending Rick home. Well, I mean, Rick should recover at home. And then basically, Raditch, after being prodded by Snake again, says, to my knowledge, this isn't daycare and making friends is not part of the curriculum. I wish it was preschool. It would make much more sense. Like, Raditch is partially right. But the problem is Raditch misses the point because Snake's not trying to get him because of the friendship thing, because, that's what he thinks that all Rick wants is Jimmy to be his friend and to force Raditch to do that, but Raditch isn't going to do that. Of course, then the shooting happens, and then Emma talks with Spike and Snake in the meeting room. Raditch wants Snake to go through Rick's emails and all that, and Snake is, of course, upset, saying that where's the foresight and all that stuff. Hindsight, sorry. And Raditch says, I have a school of 700 students. How was I supposed to know one student was going to overreact to some paint? And then basically Snake and Raditch have a back and forth. Spike breaks it up saying, can't you just do it somewhere else? Because, Emma is recovering, and they both agree to take it somewhere else. So anyway, yeah, Raditch, you know, I think Snake wanted to blurt out how bad Raditch did it when the Isaacs and the Simpsons were meeting in the same house, but he just basically took accountability. Of course, the Monday after, Raditch says that we guys counselors in here and students can come in here for an hour and then just go. No schoolwork, like there's no school periods and all that, or you can catch up on your schoolwork. It's important that we get back as fast as possible. And you could tell that Raditch is unsure of himself. And then we never hear about how bad the school is healing until Voices Carry when he does the walkthrough of Dracula. It strays from the source material, but Liberty and JT think that he'll give him the green light, but he doesn't. He basically says we have to do something, and because of the gory nature of it, we should not allow this to happen. And then he says a sunny musical of Degrassi would be suffice. Now the biggest problem I have is all he has to say is we have to delay this. We have to keep delaying this until a certain point. Don't cancel it, just delay it. And then, the students would be like, okay, fair, fair, fair. Like, I know Raj is up against it and all that. I still think when he was talking to JT and Liberty and that other guy was appearing over his shoulder, that might have been a school board guy. Who knows? Maybe the school board sent someone to try to deal with Raditch, and then that guy saw what happened and may have reported back to the higher ups. Who knows? But then, of course, Raditch is targeted by Liberty and JT because they're crushing the voices. And then, the whole song, Raditch is not so sweet, red and round and gross to eat. You have no power. Oh, I can't remember the song off the top of my head. I run Degrassi, you have no choices. I don't know what Yes. But anyway, yeah, JT refuses to sing the song to Raditch, and then Raditch is mad at when Liberty does it to him. Of course, the drama club balks, and Alex says, "I'm not for getting expelled," and everyone leaves. That proves something fishy is happening because they're not willing to go after Raditch. I mean, Alex freaking went after Raditch in the deleted scene. Like, why the hell did she not want to do it again? That proves that Raditch is being a prick, as he is prone to do. So anyhow, they pick up on it, and then of course he throws them into minor detention, demanding they rewrite that play. And then of course, probably a few days after that, he's seen with his box of stuff and tells Marco and Manny that if you're trying to see the principal, I'm not the one you seek. Is that a riddle, sir? No, it's more like the school board has reassigned me. Of course, he's upset when he says that. And then, of course, he takes his box outside. The students are stunned and all that. And Hatzalakos is the new principal. Great. I think she deserved it, in a sense. But then, of course, Degrassi could have easily put Raditch into kind of a black hole. But they gave Raditch a few minutes, another scene in which he explains that the time is right for him to leave and new challenges and all that. And of course, he doesn't tip his hand to, what happened. He says he's been reassigned. Has he been reassigned or has he been fired and he just doesn't want to say anything? I don't blame the guy for not wanting to say it. But I think it was a combination of firing and reassignment. But I think, in a sense, when Raditch got, this is my thoughts. This is not the thoughts of prestigious feat. This is my thoughts. My thoughts are that the school board could have easily got rid of Raditch, but probably two things would have ruined him. A, because of his longevity within the school board, they wanted to give him kind of a reward, and that's to be at another school. Or number two, and most likely, is the fact that because they were probably worried that Raditch, if they fired him, would have lashed back at the school board and lashed him, saying that, I could have easily not allowed Rick at the school. It was your fault. So the school board probably was trying to cover their tracks and all that. But I mean, the school board should have told Raditch to not allow Rick back at the school and all that. The problem is, and here's the biggest problem I think I have with the aftermath. The biggest problem is, did Raditch have any, you know, remorse? Did he think, oh, I should never have let Rick back at the school? Did he have any remorse even after Rick came back, before Time Standstill even happened? Did he have those thoughts? Did Raditch actually want to kick Rick to the curb? Did he have any thoughts of that? Probably not. Because of the fact that, did Raditch have any second thoughts? The problem is, when we watch the show, is, we think Raditch is just nothing but a thoughtless monster. And yes, it's true. Dan Woods wanted to leave the show because he was already doing Chop Cut Rebuild, and the problem was it was doing so well that he couldn't do both things at the same time. And going from Los Angeles to Toronto, LA was going to take some time, and especially with Raditch not getting a lot of scenes, so it wasn't worth it. He did say that if Chop Cut Rebuild had some problems, he would be coming back to Degrassi, but it never happened. Never did. They just pushed Raditch aside. He didn't get any special scenes or mentions after he left. It was Hatzalakos after season 9 when she gives Snake the principal spot in season 10. She's never mentioned or seen again. And even Pill when she gets unfortunately kicked to the curb in next class for Simpson. She's never seen or mentioned. And the Shep, same thing. Once he leaves after season 9, he's never seen or mentioned before afterwards. So that's for sure. Now let's talk about prestigious fees essay. I know it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like Accomplished Cup or a couple other people who do talk to my stuff as cats are meowing to get into this storyline, but I don't think she's gonna have it. Yeah, Mary Mortician's Newcomer's Guide. Nevertheless, Prestigious Fee said this, and I say, Raj represented the old school disciplinarian type of educator, even dating back to the OG series, because he referred to Yick as Yick, the disorganized. Although I must say, when I say that, is that didn't he make a peace bond with Yick? Nevertheless, a typical ordinary post Vietnam era hard ass with his sleeves rolled up, whose jobs to simply educate. Once he became principal, that job turned into control. Control of the staff, the students, everything. There are several instances in the first 3 seasons when he imposes rules as a way of enforcing his control. He also disciplines unjustifiably, especially Emma for not apologizing. He's every bad educator stereotype at the time. Now, the first um, paragraph, the well, the first paragraph, I kind of agree, but let's not forget too that he actually wasn't as bad as a teacher and all that. He was decent. Like he was a little loose and all that, especially DJing those dances and all that. And yet suspending Emma for not apologizing to the whole genetically modified food things. Remember, Emma did apologize for causing the food fight, but she was not happy with how Raj was pushing her to apologize for everything when, in fact, not everything was Emma's fault. And then basically she outed Raj's principles, and Raj just had to suspend her and then, try to get back control of the school. All right, paragraph 2. Simpson, on the other hand, represented a more modern educator, someone who understood that the job of an educator is 24/7, and that sometimes what is learned outside the classroom is more valuable than inside. Simpson often challenged Raditchs, both professionally and personally. While they were able to come to an amicable agreement to work together, the season 4 deleted scene shows that Raj clearly was handling things inefficiently. He also seemed to think that any and all problems could be solved with detention rather than actually breaking down what happened. Or basically, like with concrete evidence and not allowing Snake to get through. And Procedure Fee even said a part of the show died when Raditch left. If JT's death was the jump to a shark moment, then season 4 was when the show truly changed. Of course, maybe not for the better, but not for the worse, but definitely so. Sean and Ashley were out in season 4, as Patricia P said. Although season 6 they came back. Season 4 saw Jay kicked out of school, Spitter kicked out, the breakup of Caitlin and Joey, and this would be the last time the typical Degrassi scores would be used for some time. That's music. Season 5 to me was the re-establishing season. It was the first season without Raj, but most importantly, it was the seasons that pulled no punches and keeping you hooked and all that. Hmm. Okay, that is kind of awkward and all that, but whatever. So, anyhow, you know, that's just what happens and all that. Personally, I say that it's a decent moment, but what would have happened if Dan Woods didn't want to leave the show for Chop Cut Rebuild? That's just what I want to know. One day I will get to see Dan Woods. One day I will find out and how I can see Dan Woods, and I will be talking to him about the hard questions. That's just me. That's just how I roll. All right. So thanks for watching. Degrassism 199 is comparing a Canadian time standstill perspective to an American time standstill perspective to, of course, my time standstill perspective. And also, number 200 is the Degrassi AMA. To like, people are asking, should be asking me some season 4 stuff, and I will talk about it. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.